Hello guys and welcome to Let's Look at F1 2015, and today we're going to be talking about the Australian Grand Prix. There's a lot of big talking points. The main one for me is the whole Manor situation. So basically 3 teams entered F1 in 2010. Lotus, Virgin and HRT. They were sort of like trying to introduce the whole like new team sort of element to it, and they did relatively okay for new teams. They didn't get any points, and then in 2012 they rebranded themselves. Virgin became Marussia, Lotus became Caterham, and HRT stayed the same, and also Renault became Lotus. Then HRT left the sport, and then in 2014 Marussia and also Caterham left the sport, but before that you also had Marussia getting their first 2 points in Monaco. But they ran out of money, and the main problem is because the engines, seriously, they cost so much nowadays. Like the old engines, I think I calculated, it was something in the range of the old engines are 73 times cheaper for an entire season for an entire team than what they are for now. And that is seriously bad for a new team. But now they've come back as Manor. Now there's one slight problem with this. Because they were only really entered into the sport about half a month ago really, that means that they have not had that much time in testing, and they've not had that much time to actually make the car. From what I know, it's just basically a modified version of the 2014 car to fit in with the 2015 regulations. And so they missed practice and qualifying and subsequently the race, and under the FIA technical rules and regulations which state this: an undertaking of an applicant to participate in every event with the number of cars and drivers entered. This essentially means that they have to take part in everything unless given a valid reason. So they were pulled into the steward's office and they had to sort of like say, well, we did try, but we're a new team and we've like been working our socks off trying to do this. Whether they'll be at Malaysia is another matter. They will be there, but whether they'll be competing is another matter. Then we get on to one of the other big talking points, which is McLaren being 5 seconds slower than Mercedes. Now, of course, Mercedes are this big thing in F1 nowadays. They've got so much domination. I think Hamilton was 1.4 seconds faster than third place in qualifying, but that still doesn't excuse the fact that Button and Magnussen were slower by 5 seconds across about a 95-second lap. And that is mainly because of this new Honda engine that they've got. There was a bit of turmoil over the winter about like changes which Honda could make to their engine for this season, which basically there was a load of debacle, and I'm not entirely sure whether I understand it fully myself, but they've been given the lighter side of it. The engine hasn't been able to have been developed fully, and that means that they are kind of having to put reliability over being very quick. Because if you didn't know, last year they were allowed 5 power unit changes, which is basically like the thing which powers the car. It's kind of in the name. But now this year they're only allowed 4, which means that each engine on average has to last them 5 races, which is a lot considering back in 2013 the engines had to last 2, maybe 3 races on the rarity. If one blew up or just gave up the ghost, they could easily just like go, we'll have to like be slightly cautious, but we're okay. However, if an engine blows right now, like if an engine went in Australia, they would have 3 power units for the rest of the 19 races. And that's 2 power units for 6 and 1 power unit for 7. That's quite a lot of races. And the other big talking point as well is Fernando Alonso. He had a little bit of a crash in testing in Barcelona. Now, not everyone is entirely sure, not even McLaren entirely sure why it happened. Some people are saying it's a gust of wind, some people are saying it's down to McLaren itself, some people are saying that Fernando just lost focus. Nobody's entirely sure. but that means that he had to sit out the entirety of testing to make sure that he was fit enough to actually race. But then he said at some point, I think it was about a week before the actual Australian Grand Prix, look chaps, I can't race for Australian Grand Prix, I don't think I'm fit enough, I'll race for Malaysia, which means that Kevin Magnussen was in this race. Ow. But now there's even questions on whether Fernando Alonso will be in Malaysia. Now it's just a big mystery on when Fernando is actually going to be racing. Hopefully it's soon, because it'll be interesting to see how Fernando does with the McLaren. But it's a big mystery. Other talking points, which I won't go into too much, is obviously a new season. There's obviously new graphics for the TV broadcasters. Guido van der Garde has filed a lawsuit against Sauber for various driver debacle shenanigans. And of course, as always, Mercedes are really, really quick. So yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching. I've been Ballum. This is the End Credits. Signing out.